Hey everyone, Neil once again from the Overclocker magazine. So I'll get right to it. I'm here to talk to you about the GeForce RTX 3080. I just got my first one to try or to use. That was just a few days ago, and for transparency, it's the ROG STRIX model. Okay, I know this has been highly sought after by a lot of enthusiasts and obviously power users who've not necessarily wanted to buy the tough model or any of the other models, but waiting for this one. And I will say briefly that it is a mighty card. I mean, if I was ever going to get an opportunity to start doing a review or start testing or using an RTX 3080, I mean, what could be a better presentation of the new generation of GPUs than that one? Okay, at least at some level. So anyway, I just wanted to lend my thoughts or my very brief thoughts, I think, thoughts on the issue with the crashing and the drivers and all of that stuff. I didn't experience any crashing at all. The only crashing that I did experience is crashing that I may have induced myself, right, through trying overclocking and things of that nature. But outside of that, the card ran flawlessly. In fact, I will say that at no point did I have the card go over what 75 degrees Celsius. This is under full load, right? Most of the time under gaming, it was significantly less than that, and the clock frequencies were relatively high as well. Okay, so we're talking what 1975 or so forth. Anyway, but I'll tell you more about that when I do the actual ROG Strix model review, which that video should come out this week. But nonetheless, right now as it is, I think these are fantastic cards. Okay, well, I'm not talking about the Founders Edition again because I haven't tested that, but this particular one I think is a fantastic card. If it's worth you spending that sort of money on, I can't answer that for you. Okay, because these are expensive GPUs, but they do pack a mighty punch. Okay, just the performance gains that you get from the previous generation offerings, and I'm talking in compared to a 2080 Super, a competent one at that. The RTX 3080 at some level, okay, under certain conditions, particularly 4K, is offering something like double the frame rate, something along those lines, or at least close to double the frame rate. So it is, for all intents and purposes, a GPU that's capable of 4K gaming, and that is just phenomenal. Okay, I mean the set the 2080 Ti was okay, but there were some concessions that you may have had to make with that, particularly if you have ray tracing on. But with the 3000 series, you actually don't have to make any of those concessions. Okay, I am talking with DLSS, of course, right? A lot of the frame rates are going to be high, even when you're not playing 4K. Even if you're playing, what is that, ultra wide QHD? Okay, it was 3440 by 1440. I did read somewhere and heard from other videos that maybe Nvidia was a bit too ambitious, calling the 3090 an 8K card, and subsequently this one a 4K card. Okay, because it only really does 4K at max settings when you use DLSS in the games that do support such, right? However, I think that's okay. Okay, if the qualifier for being able to game at 4K at 60 FPS and higher is enabling the deep learning super sampling, then that's okay. Because ultimately you're interested in the frame rate and the visual fidelity, okay? And the pixel density, because you're still getting the same pixel density, right? That it's done from a base image, okay, that's of a significantly higher resolution, and then through AI it's put together with your current frame and all of that. However, the mechanics of DLSS work to ultimately give you an image that is 4K and at 60 FPS. That's cool. Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be a brute force approach where it's just we're just going to use as much of the GPU power as possible. Ultimately, if I can get 60 FPS 4K in many of the games that I play, that is awesome. That is definitely awesome. I don't really care how it comes about, or at least I care technically, but I don't care in the sense that I feel something has been taken away from me if I'm having to use DLSS to achieve the frame rates at 60 FPS. Do you want 60 FPS or not? I do. Okay, so how you get it is DLSS. Do I lose image quality by using DLSS? No. Actually, image quality is even better than if I were using a native 4K. Okay, and I hope AMD is able to deliver something similar to this in the upcoming GPUs, because it is literally a game changer. If there was some way to have DLSS work transparently across all of our titles, if it was done driver side, if that was even remotely possible, that would be great. Okay, that would be great, because it would mean that we'd be able to get higher frame rates across many of our games, even older titles. Okay, but nonetheless, that's not reality right now. The reality is only a few games offer DLSS support, and the ones that don't, the RTX 3080 is able to power through those games pretty efficiently, okay, and effectively as well. So yeah, this is right now the most powerful graphics card I've ever used. It's just really, really awesome. Okay, I'm not such a fan of the power consumption. Okay, for me, this is an arbitrary limit that I'd set on myself. I didn't want a GPU that would draw over 250 watts, maybe 260 watts, and that was just a limit that I basically settled on, okay, based on previous generation graphics cards. But that doesn't mean that it's wrong or GPUs shouldn't be able to go past that. Of course, if you're overclocking, particularly for a competitive overclocking, you're gonna end up drawing 7, 8, maybe even 1,000 watts, 1 kilowatt. Okay, but for my gaming and so forth, I don't see how at my chosen resolution, 3440 by 1440, that I don't see how I should be burning away, or rather consuming close to 400 watts, right, to get my 60 FPS. And fortunately, you don't have to do that with the 3080, by the way. Okay, the lower the resolution, the lower the load on the GPU, and as you'll know, the lower the power consumption. Okay, so I didn't have to necessarily go 400 watts with the RTX 3080 at ultra wide QHD, but it definitely did happen at 4K. Particularly if you increase the power consumption slider, you can literally end up all the way at 440 watts or so forth, depending on the GPU, of course, right? The ROG STRIX model is able to provide such power to the GPU. So yeah, the slider does allow the GPU to consume so much power. But for me, the thing that I'm mostly looking forward to is actually the 3070 and the 3060, actually, because I think those power targets are going to be within my range. Okay, particularly the 3070, I think it will be under 250 watts, or at least I hope it will be, or at 250 watts. And the 3060, of course, even less, hopefully under 200. Okay, so we'll see how that turns out. But so far, I'm pretty impressed with what Ampere is doing. Okay, yeah, what else can I say? My first experience with it was with a phenomenal card, and I'm grateful for that. But outside of that, yeah, I'm pretty happy. No crashing, no weirdness, no nothing like that. If outside of the inflated prices right now and the lack of general availability, if either of those things weren't an issue, these would be phenomenal cards, and I would encourage anybody who has the means to get a 3080. I don't know about the 3090, but definitely the 3080. I think the 3080 has more than delivered for a lot of people. But anyway, let me know how you are finding your GPU right now. Are you still waiting for one on pre-order? Are you waiting for a specific one? Are you already using it? What do you think? Leave your comments below, and I'll see you later on in the week. Until then, remember to share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.